order to know that the world is falling apart, you just look outside your window. And with that, I say welcome to Geeks with Kids, the internet's #1 geeky podcast from a parenting point of view. I'm your host, Erik, and joining me this week is Michael. And Michael, hi, Michaels.
Hey.
Hello.
I shouldn't say this week because it's every week.
Every week.
Because it's Thursday and we're talking about Star Trek Picard. So the latest episode, episode 9, is titled Et Arcadia Ego, Part 1. So this is the part 1 of part 2 of the finale of Star Trek Picard Season 1. So let's jump into the summary. The La Sirena arrives at Soji's homeworld Coppelius via the Borg transwarp conduit and are immediately attacked by the Romulan snakehead that followed them. Suddenly, the newly repaired artifact emerges from the conduit.
5 objects resembling orchids approach from the planet, unfurling and engulfing the ships, shutting down all power and causing them to crash land on the planet.
In the turbulence, Picard loses consciousness.
When he regains consciousness, Dr. Jurati examines him and discovers the brain anomaly. Picard then discloses his terminal condition to the crew.
Leaving La Sirena, they spot the artifact's crash location and decide to check for Hugh and Elnor first.
An XB identifies Picard as Locutus, and Elnor greets them enthusiastically. 7 helps them get long-range scanners online. Raffi and Rios discover there are 218 Romulan warbirds en route within a 2 days journey of the planet.
Elnor doesn't want to leave Picard's side because Jurati told him that Picard is dying. However, Picard feels Elnor's presence is needed by the XBs more.
The team arrives at Coppelius Station and are greeted by other synths. Soji is welcomed back by a synth named Arcana. Arcana recognizes Picard and inspects him closely.
Soji informs them of the Romulans coming to destroy them.
They're joined by Dr. Alton Inigo Soon, the biological song of Noonien Soon.
Do you want to try that one again?
No.
This is going great. This is how the sausage is made.
No. Picard is waiting for some rest while Soji debriefs Soon et al. About the Romulan threat.
Picard is approached by another synth who looks like Daj and Soji. She is Jonna's sister, Sutra.
Sutra asks Dr. Jurati about the admonition using a Vulcan mind meld, which I have problems with, but we'll get to that. Sutra experiences the admonition and interprets it differently than organic minds have. For Sutra, the vision in Jurati's head is not a warning to organics, but a message for synthetic life being sent from a higher form of AI.
Dr. Jurati and Dr. Soong discuss Bruce Maddox. Soong reveals that he's built a golem looking to try a mind transfer.
Soji and Sutra discuss a plan. Sutra doesn't want to run, and Soji doesn't want to kill people.
Narek is brought into the settlement and imprisoned.
Jurati and Rios talk and share a tender moment.
Raffi is setting off back to La Sirena and expresses her affection to Picard, who reciprocates. Rios and Raffi head off.
Picard tries to contact Starfleet Command with no luck.
In his cell, Narek tries to convince his guard to let him have a drink. Soji stops her from opening the cell. Narek tries to talk to Soji, but she shuts him down and walks away.
Soji finds Picard and they have a talk about moral choices regarding sacrifice.
Meanwhile, Sutra finds Narek and sets him free to enact her plan.
A scream is heard, and Soji finds Dr. Soong cradling a dead Sega. Sega!
Sutra addresses her people and tells them that it is time to summon an alliance of synthetic life forms to save them from the organics. She identifies Picard and the Federation as being as much a threat as the Romulans.
Picard tries to convince them to trust in him, but Dr. Soong undercuts his promises and Sutra orders him to be imprisoned.
Dr. Jurati manages to stay out of house arrest, claiming she can be an aid to Dr. Soong's work.
On a Romulan warbird, Commander O asks for the fleet's status, and the report is that they will arrive in 24 hours.
Ooh, 24 hours earlier than expected. Okay, so before we go into detail, did you like the episode? Yes or no? In no detail. No detail, Hawk.
I enjoyed it.
Shows.
No, I didn't like this one.
Me, I'm sort of, it was hard because the last 2 episodes have been so good, and they were building, and then this one sort of just, I don't know, it felt weird. So, Hawk, give us a point on what you liked about this.
I'm hoping that there's going to be an Elnor and 7 spin-off series and that, because I think that's going to be a great pairing, them cruising around in a Borg cube.
You don't think one of them is going to die by the end of this?
I don't think Elnor is interesting and like a character with a lot of potential. And 7, I think her coolness just kind of puts her on the safe list.
Shows, is there anything you liked about this?
I mean, things that, like, okay. So if I have to go into things that I liked about it, I would definitely have to talk like some of the acting from some of the actors in this episode was quite good. I very much enjoyed 7 of 9's very short moments in this episode. I also liked, Girardi again. Like we keep coming back to the same conclusion that's an incredible character, and we just continue to want to know what she's up to.
Do you think, so I'm going to go off of this Dr. Girardi thing. Do you think that her trying to work with Dr. Soon right at the end when she's like, you know what, yeah, you guys take away Picard, but make sure I'm free because I want to help you guys. Do you think this is her trying to work her way back into helping Picard because she has betrayed him? I feel like that's everyone's thought.
Yeah, like she's trying to redeem herself, right? I kind of got that impression too.
Hawk?
Yeah, I think she has other motives in that. Yeah,
I think it has something to do with that golem, right?
Yeah, you think you're gonna
mind transfer?
They're totally gonna transfer Picard into that body so he doesn't die, and then it becomes a golem Picard. No one thought that.
I kind of thought that too. I was thinking, how are they going to deal with? How are they going to give us a season 2 of Picard if Picard is dying? Yeah. I was like, either they're going to continue to give us a dying Picard, season 2, season 3,
which they could, and maybe they
worse and worse every time. But it would be nice if they could use some of this technology to maybe cure, or like you said, maybe replace Picard, his broken body.
Well, they're definitely not going. They're not going to replace him.
Well, it would be hit. Maybe it could just look like him, and then it's his mind in there. You never know, right? Star Trek seems to have been going in a different way.
Well, then why not make him a young Picard? And are they just going to make him another old Picard? No.
Yes. Why not? Why wouldn't they? That's how he's known now.
I think it's more likely that they would find a way to cure him, because they kind of hint. You know how they hinted in the episode with Riker and Troy that there was a cure for their son's disease that required positronic matrix, right? And so they were kind of, I don't think that was a throwaway line. I think they were foreshadowing that maybe positronic medicine could be the cure for Picard's issue as well, right? And
then this episode they talk about how they have an artificial brain that they can transfer. They're trying to transfer consciousness, or at least, there could be some way of using that to cure this disease, which I feel like is where they're going to go.
There was a bit of a hint of that at the beginning with the previously on, and that because they did reference Troy and Riker.
Yeah, and very much at that point too, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting whenever you're watching a previously on Picard, and then it's like they're giving you the pieces that are important for that episode, right? And so you got to sometimes look at it and go, well, why did they tell us that?
Make sure you remember this. Right? Yeah, they're going to talk about flowers now, so just watch in a couple minutes. What did you guys think of this opening sequence? I thought it was again, like they start off these episodes very visual.
It was gorgeous.
Yeah,
it was fantastic. It plunged us right into action.
Yeah, and then you get the little Romulan bird, and then you get the artifact just showing up. And unfortunately, we don't see the Enterprise flying with it like we hoped, but seeing it come in just like bombastically and just. Yeah, it's right there.
Do you think they'll give us will they give us the Enterprise next week?
Yes, they will.
I want to see
if it'll be at the end. It'll be in the third act because they'll have the
Starfleet crew, like the Starfleet fleet shows up, right?
Yeah, last minute it'll come. It'll help. We'll see
with Riker at the helm.
Riker. We'll see all of the crew, and we'll cry as Star Trek fans. We'll be like, "Oh, there's Geordi," and stuff. I'm just gonna keep on saying that until we see Geordi
until it happens.
Was anyone else disappointed that the flowers were just those ships? There wasn't a more deeper meaning in.
Yeah, there's some kind of planetary defense system. There's nothing really to them.
Yeah. But we didn't really get an explanation about what they are, how they make them, that sort of. We don't get much of that.
Soji was just like, "Yeah, those are the orchids," and we're like, "Okay,
yeah, okay, cool. Space flowers, good, okay." And then they go down to the planet, and they're like, "You have more of those?" And they're like, "Yeah, we got like 20."
No, they had 10. They had 15, and like they 10. Lost 5 because of why? Why were there 5 there? I guess they had a couple for the Borg cube. It's pretty big,
and they needed to wrap it around. But I mean, like, I'm trying to think what's the purpose of that as a defense system? You just sort of wrap around a ship and then cause it to crash on the planet. Is that the intent of that?
And why is that?
And that it seemed to have the same effect on each of those ships, and that it knocked out their power, and then just brought them kind of hurtling down.
But do you want to keep doing that though? Like in this case, everybody pretty much survived the crash. Mm-hmm. So
which doesn't make sense either.
If your giant orchids are just meant to defend your planet by pulling all of those ships down to the surface, like what if the ship was full of enemy soldiers? It would just pull it down, and then they would just go and attack the base, right?
Yeah, right. But I don't know if you remember, they were at the compound. You see the first android, and they're practicing some sort of martial art. So maybe next week we get ninja robots.
Robots.
What do you guys think of this compound? The all mostly female compound of robots. I saw a couple male, but
it was
not
very
many.
Star Trek. Like it was very Star Trek Next Generation. Like it just seemed like, early Star Trek Next Generation, maybe the first couple seasons where they showed up, everybody's wearing like hippie clothes and like throwing frisbees around, and that's kind of what it seemed like to me.
It looked exactly like that, didn't it? I thought that too. Like the clothing was so like future 90s future, and I was like, oh no.
There was that episode,
late 80s.
There was that episode in early Next Gen where remember where like Wesley was on a planet and he like, I don't know, he trespassed or he vandalized something by accident. He crashed into something, and then they were going to
walked on the grass. They were tossing a ball around. He accidentally crashed into this little plot of like of flowers and that, and
right, and they were going to have him killed, right?
Do that, and then the guards came and took him away, and it was like he was going to be executed for it.
Like that's such a Next Generation like plot.
That was a good episode. I like that one.
Yeah.
You know what? Just to piss off all the fans next week, Enterprise going to be piloted by Crusher, Wesley Crusher.
The Crusher, Captain Wesley Crusher.
He's off traveling interdimensionally in that. He's
no. Didn't they show him back on the Enterprise during the wedding, and he was wearing a Starfleet uniform, wasn't he?
I don't remember Nemesis that well.
No
one should. But as far as I remember, I'm pretty sure he was wearing a Starfleet.
Yeah, I think he was in it. But like when we left Wesley back in season 7, I think it was of TNG, and that he had kind of that prophecy of him being one of the travelers, and that had come true.
Yeah, that was a cool thing, and then they ruined it in a wedding. So that doesn't matter. What did you think of the crew
for a wedding?
Yeah, not in Starfleet outfit. Why? Why would he be in a uniform? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What did you think of the crew's story? They weren't really in it that much. Elnor, Raffi, and Rios. Yeah,
I mean, Raffi had the "I love you" with Picard.
I thought that was cute. That was like a friend love you, not a romantic love you, or more of like a daughter. Oh yeah, a daughter to father kind of love, right? Yeah, not like I'm not going to bring Star Wars into it, but not that kind of.
Raffi Skywalker, right? Is that what you're gonna
say? No, we didn't expect a kiss between them. That's what I was going to go with. But yeah, it was a cute like family moment. Sure. And she's been getting progressively better over the past couple episodes, and this one it was just cute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. We talked about Jurati. We liked her journey. Rios had a good moment with Jurati on the planet.
Yeah. Where he said that she's unforgettable, basically. Yeah.
Which makes me think that one of them is going to die. And I think it's going to be Jurati, unfortunately.
I think so too, but I don't want it to be.
I don't want it to be either.
Like she's going to sacrifice herself because it's almost like because she killed Maddox, she has to be the one that goes.
Yep.
Just based on their narrative rules. Which could be broken.
And then next season, Rios is going to have a big hang up about it. And it'll drive his story next season. And then we'll get flashbacks with her. Oh Lord, this is
or Jurati. You know how Jurati's doing the brain? She's doing the brain transfer. What if Jurati puts her brain into the golem?
Oh, and then ever so often
she sacrifices herself, and then ends up being like an android herself,
a sexy robot. I like this. This is turning into Westworld. So we didn't really talk about Dr. Data.
Okay, yes. So this is my problem with the episode.
Yeah.
There was no talk about him having a son, was there?
No. And he's completely, to me, he seems like a completely thrown away character. Like I feel like,
is he a robot? Like
why? That's what I'm trying to figure out. it was just so quickly mentioned. Oh, I just happened to be Dr. Soong's son, and he liked Data more than me, and that's where it left it. It didn't go into that any further. Picard wasn't like, wait a second, he never had a son. You know what I mean? Like it was another one of those throwaway lines that I feel like is probably going to lead us to that maybe he's actually a robot himself or something like that. I don't know.
Why would he be okay with the admonition, though? Why would he be okay with these future robots coming over, and not future robots, but like celestial robots coming and killing all organic life?
Unless he plans to put his brain into the golem.
Because if he gets Jurati's help to get this golem up and that, then he's going to be one of them finally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then he'll be safe when all the organics are destroyed.
That's some bad, crazy Star Trek-y stuff that seems out of the place. I don't.
No.
I guess
precedent for this.
Soongs haven't been the most up there, right? They haven't been the most.
Well, do you remember when Data's consciousness was erased by that one scientist back? What was it? Season 2, I think it was. Shouse, you know the episode I'm talking about.
Is that the one where he was collected by the?
No. He met that sick, dying guy, doctor.
Oh yeah,
his name right now. Yeah, remember he was working on the way to bridge the gap between human minds and a synthetic network.
Yeah, and he wanted to be immortal by putting his brain into a computer. Yeah,
and he met Data. On the day he found out he was dying.
Yeah, that's convenient.
Oh, I remember this episode.
Yeah,
but I feel like we've had like Brent Spiner as evil doctor show up a few times in Star Trek. Like I'm thinking Star Trek Enterprise.
Yeah,
Enterprise.
Right? With the augments. Remember when he was? He had the crew of augments.
And he was Soong's ancestor in that.
Yeah. So I was hoping that if we were going to see Brent Spiner in this two-parter, that he was actually going to be playing a human Data. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see Data being recreated the same way that Soji was.
Speaking of recreated Datas, why were some of the androids Data looking? Like their skin was greenish and their eyes were like more.
They were the work of Soong.
Yeah,
those ones. Okay.
Yeah, those ones were the work of Alton Soong. So he would have based it on Noonien Soong's designs and that. And
I missed that in the
artificial. Maddox was the one who bridged the gap between the synthetic and the organic.
And I feel like too they may have been built in different stages. Like you may have seen some of the earlier androids walking around, and then like the later model, which would have been like Soji, right? Like the more advanced models.
So they're
your
like
iPhone 6
iPhone
and
1,
your iPhone
right?
10,
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, that was probably one of the best parts of this episode, and that was the first encounter with them.
Sega.
You're looking at them through the the eyes of Data. And they seem like kind of more emotionally more developed than he was at that point, but still they had that synthetic detachment, and I was really pushing for that later in the episode with Sutra. But yeah, that would probably be my one hang up about this is Sutra turned out to be a bad Data.
Yeah, and
really
that was
fast.
That was the main reason that I didn't like this episode. Like upon reflection, like I did not like the character of Alton Soong, but I really didn't like the character of Sutra. Like I felt like, why do we like where did this villain come from? What are her motivations? We just met this character, and somehow we have to believe that she's like the villain of this entire series. And
sure, yeah,
I don't know. It just seemed like, and the mind meld really bothers me because I don't think that an android should be able to mind meld. I think that's something in Vulcan physiology that allows them to do that. I don't think it's something you learn.
And technique.
Yeah, I thought it was also because they're also part psychic, wasn't it? They're supposed to feel that.
They have telepathy as part of their physiology.
Yeah.
And so to say that an android can learn how to do it, that kind of thing bothered me.
When I saw it, I was like, no. I don't like this. This is not going to fly with the Star Trek fans.
Oh, and they tried to throw it away by saying, "Oh, she learned how to play the musical instrument, and she really loves Vulcan culture." And it's like, no, you can't learn that.
You know what?
I would have to. I think you should go to the some sort of archive and that about Vulcans to check this out, because I do believe that it's more of a mental discipline that they're able to develop. It's not just some physiological trait that they have.
That sounds like some bullshit.
Well, that means the Romulans are capable of it too, and but for some reason they were just too lazy to develop it.
Yeah, but they still had some of that ability. You saw it in this series when Erik was getting Soji to use the meditation to discover her past.
Why don't they do the whole my mind to your mind thing?
We as Terrans have the exact same thing, and in like memory regression therapies and that.
Like hypnosis.
That's all that was just memory regression therapy. Like I said, we'll have to go to the Wikipedia or the Star Trek.
I'm reading it right now, and I feel like they changed it on StarTrek.com for this episode.
Oh God, yeah, they must have been flying to it.
You gotta go to Memory Alpha to look it up there.
Because the Wikipedia is different from what it says on the official Star Trek site now. Because on the Star Trek site, it says it's a technique used by touching with using their hands. But on all the other Star Trek ones, it's a limited form of telepathy.
Yeah.
So
they had to make some changes.
Good job, Star Trek, for changing your own website for this episode.
Oh no! Oh God! Don't tell Steve.
Well, they were probably like I kind of like the idea of them saying, okay, well, this message wasn't meant for organics. This message was meant for synthetics. But then the way that they wrote the story so that the message somehow got to the synthetics didn't really work for, well, it doesn't sound like it worked for any of us really. Like I feel like if they would have come up with a different way for that message to get to the synthetics, I don't know. No, this just bothers me now, even more so now that I've read this.
Oh no. Picard.
Let's move on. Anything else to really talk about in this episode? We find out that they want to do the admonition now.
We can talk about what that admonition is, right? Like it's actually like a distress call.
Yeah.
That synthetics can send out, and it's good when they send it out. It triggers sort of the apocalypse, kind of
Space
like
Force.
They're contacting a higher form of AI, which is always watching, apparently.
So that sounds an awful lot like Mass Effect, like we talked about as well. Or
it could be that what was that big computer that they had on Discovery last season?
Yeah.
Control.
So you never know. It could be something like that.
One of the theories that was floating around, that because Control is in the future right now, that Control could somehow be everywhere. Like Control is in the future and has the ability to, I don't know, reach into the past and try to change things.
Yeah. It'd be cool. It'd be a cool callback to see it.
Well, when do we get Star Trek Discovery? Do we know?
They have not announced the release date because they want this to finish first.
Oh, okay.
People are thinking
it's done filming though.
Yes, they've been done for a while because what's his name? Makeup guy,
Michael Westmore. I don't
know. The first officer on the Enterprise.
Saru.
What's his name? Doug Jones. Whenever he finishes the season, he does a full cleanse of his skin because of all the makeup that he does.
Oh yeah,
and all the prosthetics. So he had a spa day a little while ago when they finished season. What is this? Season 3.
Season 3.
Yeah. Any other thoughts about this?
So is this going to come down to Soji? Because even looking at the preview for next week's episode, it sounds like all of this is still going to come down to her and her what decision she decides to make. It felt
like that when they were trying to, put Picard in jail. They're like, well, we got to have you not talk to other people. And she's like, yep, that's the right idea. Put him in jail. Everyone looked to her, even though she was of no real importance. Because
she's really mad at Erik, right?
Yeah,
and so she's letting that rage kind of fuel her.
Maybe she had the same thought as Girardi in that. Yeah, it's better to be on the other side of the bars just in case they need to act.
I thought that was silly. Much like a lot of this episode. This episode's silly, Hawk. It's silly. What I'm hoping is
it was short too, 40 minutes, 44 minutes.
44 minutes.
Part 1 of 2, right?
Next week better be an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Next week better pay off of everything in this episode because if I have to deal with another episode 9, I don't know if I'm going to be by episode 9, I mean Star Wars episode 9.
Right.
Not having a payoff at the end of something disappointing. I'm gonna be sad because the season has been so good, and to have the 9th episode be,
it has to set the stage for season 2 as well. It's got to get us excited for what can happen in Star Trek Picard moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're gonna take a bunch of time at the end of the episode to set up the next season, right?
So Picard, you going back to your vineyard?
No,
I think let's see what's out there.
Second star to the right. Engage. And then they run into the end. Then they run into Discovery or something.
Do we want him to go space, the final frontier at the very end?
I do want him to do that.
These are the voyages of the La Sirena.
And then it becomes a little like Spanish type music version of the Enterprise theme. Oh no, the fans would be rabid and mad. Any final thoughts? Do you guys anything about this?
I'm still excited for next week. Let's finish this up. Like, this was a first part, so maybe the payoff will be huge.
Did the trailer excite you for next episode?
It didn't tell much.
Yeah, it was just explosions and then the end, and then Soji being like, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, I guess. Final thoughts. I sort of warned myself out about. I
think that Golem is going to be important. I think it's going to be important, and probably not in the way that we think. Like, I have a feeling that we're sort of leaning towards that sort of Dr. Soong is going to try to use it, but I think it's going to be used for something else.
Has that been in Star Trek before, the Golem? Because it just seems like out of anywhere, they're like, oh yeah, a golem. Obviously, it's a golem.
Like it's just an empty android.
Empty android. Yeah, they couldn't have just said that.
Nah, I don't know.
Oh, this episode is bothering me more as I think about it.
My precious.
This is what happened to me when I saw episode 9. My brain hurt more after I thought about the episode more.
Yeah, you're not supposed to think about these things.
No,
but I thought about last episode, and I was like so excited about this episode. Anyway,
I want Riker and Troy to show up again.
I just want them to come back. Them and obviously Geordi. What do you think? Anything else? Any other fun?
I hope we find out a little bit more about this technology on this planet. And that I felt that little exchange between Raffi and the one cent in that when she gave her that tool.
Use your imagination.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they fixed Picard with it.
Oh,
yeah,
could be.
We'll find out.
Maybe we'll find out some more about the orchids, what their actual purpose is.
Maybe they fix the Borg. Maybe the Borg cube becomes a Borg sphere. Ooh. Remember when that happened in First Contact and everyone?
Because the sphere is usually the sphere is inside the cube, right? So the cube's got to open up, sphere's got to come out.
You never know which way it landed. It could just come out the top.
Yeah.
Oh man. Then the Enterprise. So predictions for next week: Enterprise, Borg sphere. That's what's going to happen.
Star Trek First Contact.
That'd be amazing, because that was the last time we saw the Enterprise with the Borg.
With the Borg, yeah.
Oh, damn. High hopes next week. You hear that, Picard? High hopes.
Yes.
So let's throw this out to the listeners. What did you guys think of this episode? Send us a note. Contact us on social media. We are everywhere. Thank you, Michaels, for coming on and talking about Picard, even though this one wasn't as good as the rest, Hawk.
Boo.
Thanks for coming on. I like talking about Star Trek, and we got to definitely do some, Discovery whenever that comes out, or Orville.
Yeah, that can be. That'll be our new Thursday.
I would totally do an Orville show too.
Yeah, it'll be more comedy. We'll laugh at the whole episode as we go through it.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you for our finale next week. Oh,
yay! Bye.
Space.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, that's it for us this week on Geeks with Kids. If you want to get a hold of us, you can send us an email at podcast@geekswithkids.ca. And don't forget to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/geekswithkids. Follow us on Twitter at geekswithkidscn. Check out our pics on Instagram at geekswithkids. And you can find all of this good stuff on our website at www.geekswithkids.ca. So if you like what you hear, why don't you hit that subscribe button and leave us a comment. This podcast can be found on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, and your favorite podcasting app. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.